As I say, we would love to hear from you at home about what you thought about the performance against Qatar last night. But if you think that Stephen Kenny cares about what you have to say about that performance last night, then you would be sorely mistaken. He was in defiant form in the press conference after the game. Have a listen.
Now, to be honest with you, Gavin, I've experienced a lot in my life, and I feel really strong. To be honest with you, it doesn't hurt me, because you know what? I don't care. I know what I'm doing. Very clear what I'm doing. Real clarity in what I'm trying to implement. And I don't care what anyone says. I'm very clear what I want to do, and that, you know, it's irrelevant to me what other people think, to be honest with you. But there are people coming out of the woodwork that want to kick us while we're down, and that's very evident. And maybe that's to be expected. But some people have turned very quickly, and I think, I think we will get back on track, and we will have give the Irish supporters a team that they can be really proud of.
This is more like it. This is a defiant Stephen Kenny that we're seeing here, Shane. This guy was clearly seething for the last few days, paying a little bit of attention to what was actually being said about the team, and making the point that I guess the fact is that some people maybe had their mind made up before the Luxembourg result, and then all of a sudden the explosion happened because there was reason to absolutely lambast the team. And Stephen Kenny, all guns blazing in that press conference.
Oh, you love to see it, don't you? You felt like just standing up, taking your top off and swirling it around your head when he did that, because that's the way to respond, because the pressure is massively on him, on Stephen Kenny. And he could have flipped out a lot more last night, I think. And some of the headlines, I don't know exactly who he's referring to. I know Tony Cascarino had been writing in the Times, I think it was, about Stephen being tactically ignorant. And that was just one of the many things levelled at Stephen Kenny after that Luxembourg defeat. So he had to be a bit angry. Of course he was angry. And one defeat doesn't automatically make a bad manager, make a bad team. And it was funny when Luxembourg went ahead against Portugal last night, we're all thinking, oh, hold on a minute here. Maybe Luxembourg are actually just world beaters and we were okay. But for Stephen Kenny to react like that, he says, it doesn't bother me. Clearly it does bother him to an extent because of the way he reacted last night. But he's right to do that. There was a great piece in The Athletic a week or two ago, I think, on the pressure on managers in football, and it interviewed Niall Quinn talking about his time over Sunderland and tough time over Sunderland, and even Brian McDermott, the former Reading manager, talking about turning to drink. If he had a bad weekend or a bad run of results, that it gets to you. Being a manager gets to you, and the pressure that comes with that. And I can only imagine with the focus that is on the international manager's job here in Ireland, and the fact that we all love a negative story, and the fact that we all love to just jump on someone who is seen to be doing wrong in sport at any particular moment, that can only mean massive pressure on Stephen Kenny. And for him to respond last night, I think, sets the tone and says, look, I don't care what you say, I don't care what you write, I'm going to continue in this vein, and I have the backing of the FAI, and whatever you say is irrelevant. So, more power to him, I think.
It also suggests to me that maybe behind the scenes, the backing that we've heard from the FAI is actually being replicated, because we saw Roy Barrett come out a few days ago and say that Stephen Kenny will be backed and that there's every chance he gets another contract. Again, that's what you expect him to say, because if he doesn't say that, then you're in a bit of disarray immediately. But for Stephen Kenny to come out that strong after the game last night suggests that he genuinely believes what he's saying. He genuinely believes that he's going to be Ireland manager for the foreseeable future. And that to me suggests that the FAI have given him every assurance under the sun, even in the aftermath of the Luxembourg game, which will be a positive for fans of Stephen Kenny. It's interesting as well that, speaking to Tony O'Donoghue on TV after the game last night as well, he was just making the point that I'm a winner and I've won with Dundalk. We didn't really lose for 4 seasons with Dundalk, was the point he was making. We didn't really lose with the Ireland Under-21s, was another point he made. And maybe this is something that we kind of need to realise as well, is that Stephen Kenny was brought into the Ireland setup because he was a serial winner at club level with Dundalk. I know obviously there were other stints in his club career that people will use as a stick to beat him with, but that is ultimately why he was brought in, was because of what he did with Dundalk and to win games. And yes, the style of play is different, and yes, that is probably what sets Stephen Kenny apart. but he's here to win games. He's here to get over the line and actually get 3 points in the games that matter. And that's why the concerns around him have been legitimate over the last week. Not beating Luxembourg, that is 100% a reason to be upset with Stephen Kenny and to have reason to think that he may not be the man for the job. But at the same time, this is his MO, and he realises that he needs to turn this around, and he fully believes that he's the man to do it.
You'd almost forget that he was a serial winner, as you mentioned before he took the Irish job. And even when he took the job, there was all this negativity going, the English-based players or the English-born players in the Irish squad mightn't know who Stephen Kenny is. They won't know who he is because he's a League of Ireland pedigree. But that negativity has just followed him around since. And look, he's been, as we've covered many times in this show, he has been remarkably unlucky. I think you tweeted last night that penalty that Qatar almost got for absolutely no reason was perhaps the last thing on the list that Stephen Kenny hadn't been hit with from a luck point of view. But he has just had a remarkable string of bad luck. And when you remember as well that Conor Hourihane is to come back into this team, John Egan is to come back into this team, Aaron Connolly, and a number of others as well, and the goalkeepers as well, Randolph Van Kelleher. We have a lot more players, I guess, tactically positive players as well to come back into this Irish setup. And Kenny was even quite strong in advance of the game, talking about the Qatari human rights issues leading up to the World Cup. He was just, I think, after the Luxembourg game, maybe something has flicked in his head that he's more open and he's more honest, and he's not going to take any crap. I think more open, in fact, than the Qatar manager Felix Sanchez-Baz, who pretty much declined to answer questions from the Irish journalists on the Zoom conference after the game last night. So two very different post-match press conferences. But no, fair play to Stephen Kenny, and I hope he continues with that same post-match emotion for the next coming games, I think.